Good evening. A local doctor accused of removing the wrong organ during a recent surgery, allegedly resulting in the death of an Alabama man. William Bryan died August 21st, just 2 days before his wedding anniversary, when his liver was removed during an operation which was intended to remove his spleen. He was 70 years old. WEAR's Karis Harmon joins us now, and Karis' widow is demanding accountability.
Yeah, she is, Sue, and this is why. Take a look at this diagram. You can clearly see that the liver and the spleen are on opposite sides of your body. The alleged mix-up proved deadly. His wife saying it's difficult to talk about, but she doesn't want anyone else to go through this. Beverly Bryan and her husband Bill traveled from Muscle Shoals, Alabama to enjoy a vacation at their condo in Destin. While they were there, her husband began feeling pain on his left side.
So we went to Sacred Heart on the Emerald Coast, and he was admitted and became a patient of Dr. Shaknovsky's.
After running tests, she says, doctors identified a cyst that had ruptured and bled around his spleen. She says she wanted to bring her husband back to North Alabama to see his own doctors.
I tried to convince Dr. Shaknovsky to let me take him home or arrange for him to be transported, but Dr. Shaknovsky said that Bill would bleed to death if he was moved.
On Wednesday, August 21st, Bill underwent surgery to remove his spleen. By that evening, Bill was dead.
They took him from us while he was completely helpless on the operating room table. They removed his liver instead of his spleen. So, of course, he bled to death on the operating room table. Everyone knows you can't live without your liver. It's about the same thing as if they had pulled out his heart.
According to a report from Ascension Sacred Heart Emerald Coast, Dr. Thomas Shaknovsky is identified as the primary surgeon. Attorney Joe Zarzer, who was hired by the family, gave us what is called the operative documentation from the hospital. It details the operation and what led up to it. The document reveals Bryan was admitted to the hospital on August 18th. It indicates several tests were done, including an MRI and a CT scan.
My client went to Sacred Heart Emerald Coast with pain, discomfort, and he was treated, and Dr. Shaknovsky recommended that he go through a splenectomy, which is removal of the spleen.
When Bryan went into surgery, Zarzer says that's when something went wrong. The report says Bryan lost a lot of blood during the procedure and his blood pressure dropped, abruptly sending him into cardiac arrest. Efforts to resuscitate him were unsuccessful, according to the document. Zarzer also provided the surgical pathology report from the hospital that showed the organ labeled spleen was something else.
Dr. Shaknovsky was intending to take the spleen out. When the spleen was sent to pathology at the hospital, the pathologist at the hospital, after the procedure was over, said this is not a spleen, this is a liver.
Zarzer pointed to the operative document, saying that's not what the doctor reported.
The doctor reported as if it was a spleen complication and that the patient had actually died from a spleen operation that went bad, right?
I know I'm not the only wife that has lost her husband suddenly, but the loss of my Bill was exceptionally unnecessary and brutal.
She wants, I would too, right? She wants the criminal case to proceed. She wants a culpable negligence case on the criminal side, and she wants everybody, whether it's one doctor or doctors and nurses or multiple doctors and a hospital. She wants everybody to be held responsible so that they don't let this happen again. Your risk management team shouldn't be more robust than your credentialing team at a hospital.
Ascension Sacred Heart Emerald Coast did not answer our questions about the incident or about Dr. Shaknovsky's relationship with the hospital following the incident, releasing only this statement. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family. Sacred Heart Emerald Coast's leadership is investigating this matter. The Walton County Sheriff's Office is also investigating Bryan's death. In a statement, it says it is reviewing the facts to determine if anything criminal took place. The agency also asking for the public's patience, as it says these cases are, quote, extremely complex and take time to investigate. Bryan says her husband leaves behind 3 children and 8 grandchildren. She described him as honest, kind, and dependable, saying he deserves justice.
Our family and community is devastated by what's happened, and we feel that it is our duty to spread awareness and warn others.
A lawsuit has not been filed at this time. Under Florida law, a pre-suit process must happen before a medical malpractice lawsuit can be filed. Zarzer tells us he intends to file that lawsuit. We also reached out to the medical examiner's office to request information about the autopsy to confirm Bryan's liver was removed instead of his spleen. We have not yet heard back. In the studio, Karis Harmon, WEAR News.